I don't know where else to turn. I can't talk to my mom about this, not after everything that's happened. And I certainly can't talk to my dad, not after what I've just done. The house is filled with a silence so thick I can hardly breathe. I keep replaying the past week in my head, searching for some sign that I did the right thing, but all I see is the look in my father's eyes. Hollow, vacant, somehow both accusatory and pleading. I need someone to tell me what to do, because I think I've made a terrible mistake, one that can't be undone. Let me go back. We had a good life, a normal one. Our house stood in the kind of neighborhood you see in brochures: wide lawns, tidy fences, children's laughter echoing on summer evenings. Our house stood in the kind of neighborhood you see in brochures: wide lawns, tidy fences, children's laughter echoing on summer evenings. My mom's garden was her kingdom, awash in color every spring. My dad was a quiet, gentle man whose great passion was working with his hands. He'd talk about soil types and pruning as if they were the most fascinating things in the world. Looking back, maybe that's why what happened, the change, was so frightening. It started when I was 10, 15 years ago. My dad came home with a grin that split his face in two, cradling a battered paper bag and a single strange seed. Heavy, black as ink, spiraled with faint patterns I'd never seen before. He told us with a rare flicker of excitement that it was special. A street vendor had pressed it on him, promising it would grow into a king of trees, a guardian for our home. I remember thinking the story sounded too weird to be true, but planting the seed was an adventure. We dug a hole in the center of the yard and dropped it in together. For a long time, the memory almost glowed. The tree sprouted quickly. By the next year, it was taller than me, and each season it seemed to double in size. The tree sprouted quickly. By the next year, it was taller than me, and each season it seemed to double in size. My dad became obsessed in the kindest possible way, fussing over its roots, building a small fence, insisting he alone should tend to it. Nobody else was allowed to water, prune, or even touch the tree. It was his. At first, this was just another quirk. We let him have his sanctuary, but as time passed, the tree began to dominate not just the yard but our lives. Its trunk darkened to a silky, unnatural black. Its leaves gleamed with an oily sheen, swallowing sunlight so thoroughly that nothing survived beneath its shadow. My mom's flowers wilted if they strayed too close. The grass yellowed and died, an invisible widening circle of decay. Birds left first. Squirrels vanished. Even our dog, usually unfazed by anything, whined and refused to set paw beyond the porch. The backyard felt orphaned, unnaturally quiet. But the real change came in my father. He started speaking of the tree as an it with needs, desires. "The tree's well today," he'd say with a satisfied little nod. "It enjoyed the rain." He built a bench beneath its densest branches and spent hours out there, unmoving, as if communing with something just beneath the bark. Meals were forgotten. His skin grew pale and thin, but his eyes gleamed with a distant peace. When we pleaded with him, he'd only smile. "It's peaceful here. The shadow is enough. Come and sit with me." We never did. I was in my 20s when it became clear this wasn't just a metaphor. My father's world shrank to a single spot beneath the tree, his body withering away, sustained by something I couldn't see. My mother cried quietly at night. Even the dog grew old and passed, the house growing emptier with every year. I stayed away as long as I could, but the day came when I couldn't ignore it anymore. My father was being devoured, and I was losing him to whatever had rooted itself in the yard. So one night, with the full moon wading through drifting clouds, I took the axe from the garage and stepped outside. The cold was instant, unnatural, wrapping me in ice instead of air. The tree's shadow loomed, thicker, deeper than any darkness I'd ever seen. Each step felt like wading deeper into something alive. The bark was smooth and slick beneath my fingers, almost like skin. I lifted the axe. The first blow landed with a sickening thud, more meat than wood. Black sap began to ooze, reeking of copper, of blood.
Don't.
And then, clear as breath, a whisper at my ear, "Don't." My heart hammered, but I couldn't stop. Swing after swing, each strike sending out more of that dark, viscous fluid, until the air was thick with the stench of blood and rot. When the tree fell, it let out a groan, a sound so human it twisted my stomach. In the mess of shattered branches and ruined earth, I stared into the wound at the center of the trunk and saw what I wish I could forget. Not wood, but something obscenely organic, striated muscle and pale cords of sinew wrapping around the unmistakable bones of a human chest. There, in the heart of the tree, split cleanly through, was the twisted, preserved torso of a person, or what used to be a person.
Burn it, all of it, now.
We worked in silence, hacking, dragging, pouring gasoline. The fire went up with a roar, the smoke so thick and black it felt like it would never stop rising. We stood watching until only ash and a scorched ring remained.
The days since then have been worse than any kind of horror I'd imagined. My father is here, but also gone, his obsession replaced with a hollow, anxious silence. He eats, sleeps, walks the halls with restless, haunted eyes. Sometimes he glances at me and I see fury. Sometimes I see sorrow. Mostly I see nothing left.